all geek to me!
Hello, welcome to episode 4 of the It's All Geek to Me podcast. Time for some geek news. Cue the applause. And cue the laugh track. Jonathan Owens of the Green Bay Packers, but better known as the husband of Olympic champion Simone Biles, gushed over his wife's greatness in gymnastics. Guess Simone didn't get a case of the twisties this time and had to quit like she did in the Olympics. Oh no, I didn't do well before, so now I have the twisties. Save me! Forbes came out with its list of the richest people in the world last week, and at the number 1 spot was Elon Musk, with $252 billion. Twitter came alive with criticisms of the billionaire and how nobody should have that much money. Musk was quoted as saying, "Fuck you, I'm rich, bitch!" Rainn Wilson, who played Dwight on The Office, continues his tour of actors who got lucky with one part. Speaking out against Rich Men North of Richmond singer Oliver Anthony, saying he would rather hear a song about how billionaires need to be taxed more. It's cute when millionaires complain about billionaires, right? Loki had made its way back to the small screen with season 2 of the beloved Marvel show. Tom Hiddleston was quoted as saying, "At least the roided out freak Hemsworth isn't in this one," before he ducked behind a chair protecting himself from every woman in the room. The writers of the Drew Barrymore show are refusing to return to work despite the agreement with the writers union. She had writers in that show? Really? People were paid to come up with that crap? What? The country music star Maren Morris came out this week saying that she's removing herself from the toxic arms of country music and changing genres. Her reasons include the turn toward right-wing music. But in true Amber Heard fashion, she has no intent in returning any of the money she got from this toxic community. Let's hear it for today's Hypocrite of the Week! Maren Morris, come up to the spot. You've earned yourself the Hypocrite Spot of the Week. Hillary Clinton stepped out and spoke with the CNN and announced that she thought the country should have some kind of formal deprogramming of MAGA supporters. It was also reported that Mrs. Clinton will be changing her name in the next few months to Hitler. Alright, so if you already read the title of episode 4, you already know what I'm talking about. Loki Season 2 is finally out on Disney+. Please, all of you, go watch it. What do I think about the first episode? Pretty good. I think it was pretty good. Tom Hiddleston, I'm glad he's back as Loki. Owen Wilson as Mobius. Everybody, just back. I'm very surprised to see where this is going, because many people have waited for this for like 3 years, and we're excited to see what happens with the great Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I'm just checking something real quick. So please go watch it on Disney Plus if you haven't already. It's very good. Let me just cross something off real quick. Now for those of you who have no clue what is going on for Loki, let me just give you a little recap of the last episode and just the series in general. So this Loki's not the real Loki, it's a variant, and during Avengers Endgame, where they all went back in time and made fun of themselves, basically, it's all the actors just making fun of themselves, pretty much, in Avengers Endgame when they go back in time to get the Infinity Stones. They mess up Loki's arrest in the 2012 Avengers film, and he picks up the Tesseract and escapes. He then lands in the desert, and he's captured by the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. And that shouldn't have happened because the timeline is corrected. So, long story short, he betrays the TVA because Mobius, who's played by Owen Wilson, offers him a job for an early release. And they learn the villain of this series is Sylvie, a variant of Loki. So this show is basically, if you like Loki, you're going to love 100 of them. You're going to love 100 of them. So Sylvie is the lady variant of Loki from another universe, and we get to see that in the episode where Loki is in the void. Yes, it was the void of time. So we get to see Kid Loki, Alligator Loki, and yes, there are Crocs with the Loki variant helmet on them. So basically, Kevin Feige is a literal mastermind when it comes to products. Boastful Loki, and then the old one, Classic Loki, is wears the actual uniform that Loki wears in the comics, which I think was very cool. Kid Loki is supposed to be the reincarnation of Loki in the comics because Loki died, and then he managed to convince Hela to take his name out of the Book of Hell, and then he turned into a young boy named Sarun. So yeah, pretty confusing. Alligator Loki, not even in the comics. He's just there for the show, all right? Yeah, Alligator Loki, maybe he's the MVP of the group. But they're at the Void of Time. They have to try to survive and not be swallowed by Eliath, the one who basically destroys the remaining Void. But they get through Eliath. Classic Loki dies in the greatest way possible by conjuring Asgard, and he goes out with a bang. So they go to He Who Remains, who created the TVA, and this is the one and only Kang the Conqueror, played the one and only Jonathan Majors. Please come back to Jonathan Majors. We need more Kang. But he, of course, he tells them what happens. He told them about Nathaniel Richards. Oh, yeah. Nathaniel Richards, that is Kang's real name, and he's a descendant of Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. And he tells Loki and Sylvie how these multiversal variants all met each other. But then war erupted. And almost all the worlds were going to die. But He Who Remains won the multiversal war, restarted the timeline, and created the sacred timeline. And basically, Loki understands this, and if they destroy the timeline, then the war will start again. Sylvie thinks he's lying. Sylvie pushes Loki through one of those time doors and kills He Who Remains, and the timeline breaks. Now, we get into Season 2, Episode 1. Now, we start off, of course, with a little recap, but then right as it begins, we see Loki running. We see Loki running from Mobius, and I forget her name, but Mobius and the TVA. But we learned that this is not the present. This is the past. This is the past. Before, we'll get to this in a minute, but this is right when the TVA was beginning. Kang built the TVA so that way he could keep all of his multiversal variants intact. Meaning they wouldn't release and they wouldn't start the multiversal war again. So Loki is being pulled from the time and past. And then there's this one great scene where Loki literally loses his mind and he shows the TVA council that this is who made this place. This was only to trap his variants. And of course it's Kang. So they learned this, they learned Sylvie did it, and now they're sending all their agents to go hunt Sylvie down while the timeline is being fractured. Let me just cross this off real quick. Now, there is a lot of thoughts on my first episode of Loki for Season 2. It's good, and I like how they're going with this, so it's now Loki and Mobius now basically have to save the day, while the TVA is going to hunt down Sylvie. Now back to the episode. So Loki's being pulled through time, and then Loki and Mobius go visit a friend of theirs. But here's the interesting part. They don't know Kang built the TVA because they got their memories erased. So they go visit the guy who erased their memories, and his name is Obi. I don't remember his long name, all right? And, of course, he's played by the great Ke Huy Quan, and he plays, of course, Short Round. He's in Indiana Jones. He's in The Goonies. He was also in Encino Man. And, of course, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. But anyway, so they go to him, and he's like, wow, great to see you again. And it's been 400 years. So 400 years since he erased Mobius's memory. But then here's the strange part. Of course, time slipping can make him jump to the past, present, future. So he does this, and then he goes to the past where he meets Obi, and he builds a machine so that way they can find a way to make him stop time slipping. And then the present one is like, oh, I remember that guy. And it's like, hey, he's back when he pops up. And I thought that was so funny and very creative to show like how the timeline works in the TVA and the sacred timeline in the world. I think that was very creative. Sorry, I dropped something. I think that was very creative of how they did that. And it really just goes to show how Marvel thinks of these ideas for the show. And I think that was really creative. So they build this machine, but they learned that this machine, the big machine, is what they suck the timeline up. So they find a way to cure Loki's time slipping. But if he doesn't make it, he will be erased from timeline, and they would have to pull him out. So OB sends Mobius out there like in a spacesuit to stop the machine from pulling stuff from all the timelines, and they have to try to save him. And Loki's transported to the future, where he finds Sylvie, but right as he almost dies, he's pulled back in by he's pulled back in from Mobius. It was not technically Mobius because literally he just did it on its own, but he's pulled back, and they have to find Sylvie. And Sylvie apparently teleports to, if I remember this right, 1983, and now she's working at Mickey D's. Yeah, this is it's very confusing, but it makes sense. It all made sense when I watched it. So my other thoughts on Loki season 2 is like, where are they going with this? Because we know Kang is coming. Kang's coming to destroy basically the multiverse, because in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which I rewatched before I watched Loki season 2, episode 1, is they said they're beginning to touch the multiverse, everything we've built. So let's stop wasting time. We're late. And the Kang, Rama-Tut, who's a variant of Kang, he's like, how many did you call? And he said, all of us. So the Kangs know something's up. But when He Who Remains says they were like, all enemies of each other, looks like they're on good terms if they're cheering for each other in a big stadium. So basically, Kang is going to be in the season, but he's not. He's going to be, he is, but he's a different variant named Victor Timely. And maybe they'll give, a lot of people are saying Kang's not going to be the big bad as we think, because of course what's going on with Jonathan Majors' court case. But if that's the case, what are they going to do with that? Who's going to be the new big bad? Many people speculate it could be Doctor Doom, but I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure Doctor Doom is ready to be in the Marvel universe. Like, there were glimpses, they were thinking it was him. There were glimpses maybe it was him in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This was not the case. It was Namor, the villain Namor. So this is going to be way different. So we don't know what's going to happen. Well, we know what's happening in Loki Season 2. We know that he's trying to stop the timeline from being erased and all of its existence. And we know if he doesn't, then the timeline could be in danger. I really don't know if Loki will be in the movies, because all these are connecting. Because Kevin Feige said, you better start paying attention, because it's all going to connect. And the Multiverse Saga is the second saga in the MCU. So, either we have this big multiversal battle in the Kang Dynasty or the Secret Wars, where all the Avengers from all the universes, all the cameos and all that, from Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, from the X-Men with Patrick Stewart, glad he was in Multiverse of Madness. So all those people coming together to fight all the Kangs. It's going to be glorious, because you get to see all these actors, like, maybe Robert Downey Jr. will come back, but he's done. Like, recent interviews are asking him, like, is he coming back to Marvel? Are you coming back? And he's been keeping his quiet, and this is very similar to No Way Home, where Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield had to be quiet and deny all those rumors till the movie finally came out. Like, I remember they were leaking a scene from the movie that was on the internet, and was Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland on the Statue of Liberty talking to each other. And like, what's going on in your universe? And Andrew Garfield had to deny that, but right when the movie came out, he was like, it was real. We had to be under a contract. So, yeah. But I love Season 2's first episode. I will be watching all the episodes so I can understand. I really want to see maybe a battle between Loki and Sylvie again, but I don't know. Like, in the trailer, it looks like Sylvie's going to be helping them, because this is all Sylvie's fault, and that's why the TVA is sending all those agents after her, and she's probably going to go into jail for a long time. But This is very confusing. So I'm gonna have to pay very attention to all this, and if you have not seen Loki season 2, you need to go see it. It is very good. So those are my thoughts on Loki's season 2, but his time slipping is gonna be very, very confusing. Like, at first I was like, what is time slipping when they showed the trailer? Again, go watch my trailer reaction on my Reviews You Can Use channel. Go watch that. I'll link it in the description. But I had no clue about this time slipping, because I knew about it was going to be during the past, present, and the future. But I was very confused. Like, how's this going to work? How's this going to work for the show? That would be very difficult. But right as they showed his time slipping, I was like, oh, okay, that's why Mobius didn't recognize him, because that was the early days of the TVA. And then he was transported back to the present, where Mobius knew him again, and everybody in the TVA knew him, and they all believed him. And I just love watching Loki lose his mind as he realized that he just let loose a killer, a multiversal killer, and they're all of his variants, they're all going to fight each other, and they're all going to destroy everybody's worlds. And realizing what the horror he just done, he knows that if they don't stop him, he is not going to stop. So I really loved watching Loki in this first episode lose his mind. But his time slipping is very, very confusing. I don't know if it's gone for good, because they were trying to get rid of it. Obi and Mobius were trying to help him get rid of it. And Obi had a plan. He sent Mobius, of course. And it looks like they stopped them. But in the trailer, we see more and more examples of Loki time slipping through time from the past to the present and into the future. So is he going to go to a certain point in time where he'll find Sylvie or he'll find Victor Timely? Oh, wait, that's wrong. Because in the trailer, it shows them going through a time door to go to Victor Timely's time. But I'm very confused of how this is going to go with Loki's time slipping. I think it's amazing that they decided to give him this this struggle during his time in the TVA again. Loki is a very interesting character who goes from good to bad, and so on. He's a trickster. But in this season, we're probably not going to see much of that because he realizes what his trickery got him into. He let loose a killer, and he knows that there's going to be a huge multiversal war, and they need to get all the multiverses together to stop all these Kangs. So we're not going to see, basically, Loki being his trickstery self. We're going to see him, stopping this one-on-one. But we're going to see his original humor, because that you have to stay true to the character when you're writing a show or a movie. But it's going to be interesting to see him maybe not do this. It would make sense for him not to do that, because he realizes that what he did was wrong. What he did, and he knew Sylvie was going to try and kill He Will Remain, so he tried to defend him the whole time. And he realized what he's done, so he blames himself for letting all those variants loose. So his time slipping is going to be very confusing, but I'm sure as I watch the series on, I'll understand why it was given to him and why he got cursed with it in the first place. So those are some of my thoughts on Loki's time slipping, but the time travel we're going to get into, because there are a few moments from Loki Season 2's trailer that I missed that I actually had to go on YouTube and look at more analysis, because I didn't go head first into the trailer. I just remember some things from Season 1 and people who were going to be in it. But I realized that a few of these things from Season 2 are going to take place in real time. Like, there's a scene where, in the trailer, Loki's on the water, and he's, I guess this is a real thing. It's not the Titanic. Oh, that would be amazing if they brought the Titanic into this. But real things are now being shown in Marvel films recently. Like in the Eternals film, they show real things that the Eternals lived to see, like the bombings during World War II, the final days on Japan. We see the Eternals go through this. And we see them going through other big tragedies, like, them arriving on Earth during the BC era. And then there's one battle I forget that was a real battle, but I forget the name of it. So the time travel, there's going to be real places and real things happening here. Like how Loki in the first episode, I was confused why he was dressed in a suit and glasses, but then people said, like, oh, it's a real case. This man named D.B. Cooper hijacked the plane, stole the dollars, jumped out with a parachute, and was never to be seen again. And that's what they were referencing in Loki. So he was D.B. Cooper in the case of Norjack. So I thought that was very cool. So his time travel, it's going to be, we're going to have to see where they're going. Victor Timely looks like Frederick Douglass, and a lot of people made connections to that, and it's from that period. So, and time travel is not real. But I did realize something while watching season 2 of Loki, the beginning. The machine that sucks up the timeline and the machine that Kang the Conqueror used and was stuck in the quantum realm, that's the same machine that was at the end of the post-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That's the same machine they used. So maybe Kang got his hands on this technology, and that's how he became like the creator of the Secret Timeline. So we're gonna have to see how did he get that machine? Why is the TVA using it? Because Kang created it. Kang created the TVA so that way he could keep his variants intact. So it's either that he had this machine and he was just showing it off in other timelines to make him look cool, or this variant was a disguise he's wearing to show people early what time could actually do to someone. So that's the timeline. But Kang, on the other hand, what's Kang gonna do? If this may be the last time we get to see Kang, I haven't been keeping up with Jonathan Majors' court news because, I mean, it doesn't affect me, but missing Kang is going to be hard. If they get rid of Kang, it's too early to bring in Doctor Doom. They can't get rid of Kang. They already set him up. They can't recast. They'll have to recast him. They already set him up in the MCU, so the MCU can't, there's no going back for the MCU. They already set him up. They can't bring in Doctor Doom. They can't bring in Galactus. They can't do that. So they have to stick with Kang. So they're either going to have to keep Jonathan Majors if he's innocent, or if he's guilty, they're going to have to find a replacement for him. So that is going to be very hard. And Jonathan Majors gives a killer performance as Kang. I give his Kang performance a 10 out of 10 because you could see his emotion. When it comes to He Who Remains, he was like this cheery, funny guy. Well, not cheery and funny, but he's just like, hey, thanks, man. But when it came to Kang, this showed a serious Kang the Conqueror. Not a funny, goofy-looking guy who does not care a single goddamn bit about what would happen to him. It's basically He Who Remains basically didn't even care if he died. So he basically was just going to, because he's seen it. He's seen it all. So he doesn't care if the Avengers win again, the Avengers lose again, the Kangs win again, or the Kangs lose again. That was a tongue twister. But it's true. He doesn't care because he's seen it all. He knew this was all going to happen. So, but this Kang is a very interesting character. And I really never read a lot of the Marvel comics when I was little. So I had to look up some comics. I had to read some comics. And I had to look up some information about Kang the Conqueror as a comic in the comic books. And he's a very, very, sorry to say this, but a very, very badass villain. He's a very badass villain. He's not as good as Thanos. Thanos will always be, Josh Brolin as Thanos will always be the best kick-ass villain in the MCU. Along with some side villains that I like, but we're not going to get into that today. But Kang, he's the new face. He was the new big bad that the event, because after Endgame and the Infinity Saga ended, a lot of people were confused of where Marvel was going to go. Were they done making films? Was there more? Because then they released Spider-Man Far From Home, and that was it before the pandemic struck. It wasn't until 2020, till Disney Investor Day, they revealed all these projects coming back. And then when Loki came around, that introduced the new big bad of the MCU, and that was Kang. So Kang is the new big bad of the MCU. Because first we had WandaVision, then the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then we got Loki. And this is going to be very interesting to see what Kang's variant is doing in this old timeline. This is going to be very interesting. Is he doing this to show the people, hey, timeline exists? Oh, whoops. The timeline timelines exist, and you need to listen to me, and you're going to I'm going to show you how we can change it. So I'm very, very excited to see how that's going to go. And I really, really hope Kang is not done for good. They can't go back. It's too late. There's no turning back. But it's going to be very sad if they do replace Jonathan Majors, because Jonathan Majors lost a lot of his money. This is why I don't like it, because like whenever something big happens in the media, or we saw this with Johnny Depp, once they think the actor's guilty of something, they get rid of his or all of her jobs. And I hate that, because when I learned Johnny Depp was not going to play Gellert Grindelwald anymore in the Fantastic Beasts trilogy, I was sad, you guys. I didn't like that. Johnny Depp was a great Gellert Grindelwald, and J.K. Rowling casted him at that time because he was getting into some legal trouble, but she casted him at the time because she was a supporter. But after this court case came out, it was done. Because right before like Alice Through the Looking Glass, I have not watched the film, so don't at me in the comments. But right when Alice Through the Looking Glass came out, Amber Heard divorced him. And that's sad. And then all of a sudden, she makes him look like this bad guy, this fool, and she loses all his money. And that's the thing with Kang. I'm sorry, I was going off a little bit off topic there. But it's true. A lot of actors we've seen have lost their jobs or their big acting opportunities because maybe of a stupid case, an inner demon that they die from, or just a bad Hollywood success story. And I hate that. Especially with Jonathan Majors in this case. Jonathan Majors is becoming a big name. He just became big because, of course, Loki. And he was great in Creed. I mean, Sylvester Stallone, if he did make that movie, because I know Sylvester Stallone did not make Creed 3. He signed the rights over because he was done with the franchise. But if he did make that film, I do think he would have picked Jonathan Majors anyway because he was surprised with his talent. Because Jonathan Majors is a really good actor, and I think he needs more acting roles because he's a very, very talented guy. And just right when Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania released, or 2 months after that, he was just gone. In a court case, he's gone. And I hate that. So we're going to have to wait and see if Kang will be around in the MCU for good. Is he coming back? Will he stay in? There's 3 things that could happen. 1, he's either going to stay in the MCU and they're going to have to recast him, or if Jonathan Majors wins the court case, then he will stick by him. Then he'll stay Kang forever. 2, they either dismiss Kang altogether and they find a new villain they can choose as the real threat, and Kang was basically their minion, so it would probably be Doctor Doom. Or 3, well, it was basically what I said the first time. They just dismiss it, or they just cast a new person. It's going to be confusing. But, yeah, that's what I would like to say about Loki Season 2, Episode 1. Love it. I'll do, on my Reviews You Can Use channel, I will do a full review of Season 2 when it's all done. So this is like your little, a little teaser about me loving Season 2 so far, and me reviewing, the first episode. So, I won't review any of the other episodes. I'm waiting till the final season comes out, till the rest of the season comes out. But, yes, I will be reviewing Loki Season 2 when it is done. So, please don't be like, review the episodes, Sawyer, review the episodes. I won't do that yet. I won't do that. Next week, we may have a guest. We may have more guests on here, because I know it's people don't really watch my really watched my 3rd episode recently, but we did have a guest on here, and it's gotten a good little bit of positive feedback from people who've seen my reviews at the school I go to. So maybe we'll have a few guests on here next week. I'm still thinking about it. But anyway, that is my my thoughts on Loki Season 2, what they're going to do with it, what's going to happen, how does this connect to the MCU, for Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. Man, I cannot wait to see that. It's going to be flawless on the big screen. But, yes, I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know if Jonathan Majors is going to get, bye-bye, throw him in the trash, or they're going to replace him. So, we're gonna have to wait for that. We're gonna have to wait to see what happens. But before I go, just please go buy something from my Etsy store. The link in the description and on the channel. I have reviews you can use, merch. We also have It's All Geek to Me merch, so please go buy a shirt if you're a fan. We also have some fun Halloween merch coming out. So if you have a mom who loves Halloween, please go buy one of the mom Halloween shirts we made. Or if you have a dad who loves telling dad jokes, please go buy our All Dad Jokes shirt. And, of course, Christmas is right around the corner in 2 months. I know Halloween's right around the corner, but Christmas is in 2 months. So if you have, like, a recently newborn baby, if you're an adult watching this and you just had a kid, or if you have a cousin or sibling who had a baby, then tell them to go to my Etsy store and buy that baby's first Christmas ornament. We have 3 that are finished and are already in the works. So please go buy something from my Etsy store if you're a fan. Please tell your friends about the It's All Geek to Me podcast. We have 31 subscribers right now. And please tell them about my reviews you can use content. We are at 94 subscribers. We are close to getting 100, please. Anyway, that is all for today on It's All Geek to Me podcast for episode 4. Episode 5 will come out next week. So thank you all for watching. Have a nice day. And thank you all so much for your love and support on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, my podcast, all of it. One of my shorts on my reviews you can use account has 150,000 views, so I could not imagine that. Please, thank you. So thank you for listening to my thoughts on Loki Season 2. Thank you, and just, yeah, it's amazing. Like, just thank you all, it's amazing. I love Loki, it's amazing. Just thank you all. And make sure to look out for next week's episode if we have some guests. All right. Thank you all for watching. It's All Geek to Me, episode 4. Be sure to look out for episode 5 next week. See you all later, and wear your seatbelt. It's all geek to me.